Just a few housekeeping rules before we get into the pleasantries. The lavatories, for those who may need them, are downstairs, just on your right, far right in the foyer. But if you do get lost and you are in a hurry, perhaps just communicate with reception. I'd also like to encourage everyone in the room to please kindly put your phones on silent while we engage. And last but not least, I'd just like to encourage everyone to just participate, have fun, and most importantly, feel free. Getting into it, my name is Amandla Didiza, and I'll be your program director for this morning. And the overarching message, or rather theme for this morning, is school safety and bullying. And as we all understand, part of the objectives of this luncheon is to bring everyone into a space where we can all collaborate on ideas. Some of the things that the Masifunde Changemaker Network has done, such as capacitating district officials, we want to be able to create a space where we can share that information, where we can share success stories, and we can also just probe our thinking as a collective. Because one of the things that Masifunde Changemaker Network wants to do is capacitate learners and rather assist them in, how they challenge and navigate their way through certain social challenges that they face. But I do understand that in order for us to get going, we need to be empowered. So I want to start with a few suggestions. I'm going to do something. I'm going to have a challenge. And the way in which I'm going to do this is that I'm just going to ask for hands. I'm going to tell a truth, a lie, and something that you need to know. I'll repeat that. I'm going to give you 3 ideas here. The first one is the truth. The second one is a lie. And the third one is something that you need to know. And these are the 3 things. Firstly, the Masifunde Changemaker Network seeks to capacitate 180 learners in 45 high schools in the Nelson Mandela Bay. The second one, in the 2021-2022 year, only 20% of public schools reported one or more crimes, totaling an amount of 1.4 million criminal incidents in public schools. The third one, the Masifunde Changemaker Network has a reach in 3 other provinces besides the Eastern Cape. That is Limpopo, Northwest, and Gauteng. And in 2024, they're looking to touch across all 9 provinces. So again, with those 3, can I get hands? Which one is the truth? Which one is a lie? And which one is something that you need to know? Yes, ma'am. Okay, we won't give out all 3. Something that you need to know, that's the first one. Anyone else would like to go for it? We've got a hand there and a hand there. Yes, sir. Second one is a lie, and we've got a hand over there. The third one is the truth. Ma'am? Are you all in agreement? Are there any more hands? Anyone would like to take a shot at it? Let's go for it. Third one is something you need to know. Second one is a lie. We've got someone saying the third one is the truth. Anybody else want to take a shot at it? Yes? First one is the truth. Okay, so we've got a winner here, and winner here. Can we give them a round of applause? And in the true spirit of Masifunde Learner Development, we have 3 vouchers here from My Maito, which is the restaurant downstairs, and you guys are more than welcome at any given time to go ahead, share your voucher, and go grab a meal. Thank you. You guys can collect them. All right, congratulations, guys. Moving on with the program, and like I said, we're going to go into a vision building aspect of this, but I do want to touch on the essence of this morning, because I do believe that we're all here as stakeholders, as relevant individuals that all share a common goal. There is no one-size-fits-all solution to the particular theme of school safety and bullying, but I do believe that as contributors of ideas, schools of thought, and as active citizens in our various organizations and institutions, we all have an active role that we need to play in order for us to be able to not only just champion these challenges, but collectively bring ideas. We don't want to create a formal setting, It needs to be casual. We need to just be able to express ourselves as best as possible. But what we also want to do is just spark that idea that may lead, at the end of the day, to a success story. We want to bring in those success stories and be able to replicate them, because essentially that's what Masifunde Changemaker Network also wants to achieve. It wants to take what it has done and replicate it throughout, and also just share what it's done so that other people may be able to either gain something or also just be challenged to, in their own respective corners and areas of speciality, be also to do that. So part of this vision building exercise, you will see color-coded placards or just notes that are in your desks, as well as writing material. And what we want to do there is for you guys to imagine the ideal school environment. But I will call upon Zali, who will also just be able to assist me and share more information on what we want to do. So can I please just give Zali a round of applause as she makes her way to stage.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. As I say, you all look lovely today. Welcome to our Masifunde Changemaker Academy. Yes, so what we're gonna do now, like Amanda just mentioned, we're gonna do a vision building exercise. The idea of today, like Amanda mentioned, is just for us to bring our heads together in terms of coming up with possible solutions to the issues, the ills that kids or learners rather find themselves in, especially at schools. So we're going to start with envisioning an ideal scenario where our schools are safe. So please, again, we're going to ask colleagues, if you come from one organization, please make sure you're not sitting at the same table. Make sure that your organization is represented. So I noticed there's a few Masifunde colleagues where it's one or two, and then there's tables where there's none. Let's make sure our organizations are represented at least 2 tables. All right, so what we're gonna do for this exercise, like Amandla mentioned, you have color-coded cards on your tables. You have markers as well. What we want is, we want colleagues to discuss an ideal school scenario where, like I said, the learners are free, the learners are safe, the learners can basically reach their full potential academically, socially, psychologically. They're free from any crime or violent act, and they're free from any bullying. All right, so we're gonna discuss at our tables, basically, what do we see in this vision? You know, if we were to look with our inner eye, what do we see? What's happening at our schools? All right, so that's the first thing we're gonna discuss. The next thing is, why are the schools safe in this ideal scenario? What's happening there? All right, and then the next thing we're gonna ask colleagues to discuss is, what is the role of each and every individual in the whole of school community? We're looking at the learners, we're looking at educators, we're looking at school management, we're looking at local stakeholders, we're looking at local businesses, civil society organizations that work, local universities, local FET colleges or universities in the school community, basically looking at internal stakeholders at the school and other stakeholders. All right, so those are the 3 things we're going to discuss at our tables. We're going to put them up shortly. So the first one is, let's envision a school, crime and violence free. The learners are safe to reach their potential, and they're free from bullying. What is happening there? What do we see? All right, so that's what we're gonna make sure, colleagues, we document each and every idea. As much as we will not have time to share everything, it would be nice for us as Masifunde to collect every idea that you came up with. So that's why we have those color-coded cards. Remember, this is a group discussion. This is a table discussion. So let's envision an ideal state. School, safe, free, learners are basically there to learn. The environment allows for that. And then what's happening there? That's the first thing we discuss. And then, why is this school safe? What's happening there? Lastly, what is the role of the whole of school community? What is the role of the learners? What is the role of the educators? What is the role of school leadership? And what is the role of external stakeholders? All right? We will give colleagues like a quick 10-minute discussion. 10 minutes for this. Your time starts now. So what we're going to ask colleagues to do now is select a representative per table who will basically just summarize the discussion, answering those 3 questions for us.
Hello, everybody. My name is Blessing, and I'm representing this table. So, question one, we answered that number one, a perfect school environment for us is if we have all qualified school teachers for every subject. Because, for example, at my school, we don't have an NS and SS teacher, so it's gonna affect us next year.
Said our students are going to feel safe because we have the LSAs in schools, and the safe spaces are there, whereby wherever they feel unsafe, they are able to go and debrief in the spaces that have been created in schools.
Our safe school has good relationship between teachers and learners. There is respectful and positive communication.
We should help ourselves from within the schools by creating trust between learners and teachers and teachers and teachers and learners.
We wanted our school to have a multi-stakeholder community in our schools, where our schools interacts with the community to make it a safer environment for the children and children that will be coming to the school.
The school that we painted, the idea of a school that we have is basically a three-legged pot. It's a relationship between parents, educators, and learners.
And because of that, they don't lack anything in terms of his support, because his support happens at school, but it also has to extend to at home. And because we are empowering their parents to be able to support them at home, now they also get that support at home. Evident that we all believe that the creation of safer school does not only rely on school leadership only. You know, we need all hands on deck, basically. The learners have a role, the parents, the community, civil society, everyone who's based at the school has a role to play in the creation of safer school. All right, we're going to proceed with our program now. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Amandla. Thank you.
Thank you again very much for that, colleagues. I think in my time, we never had such spaces of engagement where learners could sit with stakeholders and educators and speak so freely and so openly. And so I think the extension of this discussion to me was one that was really, really important and necessary. Being a child of two educators, if you asked my parents in a sitting like this, in my time, what would be an ideal safe school, they'd say, tell the SABC not to play Yizo anymore. Because the next day after watching one episode, I decided to climb on tables and shout songs, go to bathrooms and write graffiti on walls and the like. But not to make light of the conversation and not to move away from the central theme, I think if you all look at the header of that Spark magazine on your tables, there's an important question there. And it says, why not you? Why not now? And I think that's equally important because we're all role players in this particular conversation. These aren't just hypothetical situations. You know, these are practical tools that we can go back and apply in our various areas of speciality or in our schools, organizations, and in our institutions. But with that, I'd like to now call upon Dr. Bruce Damons, who will be leading us into a panel discussion along with his panel, which is none other than Cosmo Baartman, Noxolo Thabatha, as well as Babalwa Desi. Over to you, Dr. Bruce Damons.
Before I thought we didn't give these colleagues a briefing, so they have to think on their feet. I'm going to ask them first to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to give them a scenario, create a vision, and then they will have to respond to that scenario. Okay? My name is Bruce Damons, and I'm the director in the engagement office at Nelson Mandela University.
Good morning, my name is Babalwa Desi. I work at Desi Industrial Psychologists. I'm a trained industrial psychologist in private practice.
Good morning, my name is Noxolo Thabatha. I'm not Mom Thabatha. Mom Thabatha's husband is over there, and I don't want that discussion in my family at dinner. I'm a technical advisor for the German Development Corporation. I work for a program called the Inclusive Violence and Crime Prevention Program. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Cosmo Baartman. My name that was given to my mother, as I was saying to her too, is Lizo, meaning the gift. I am working for the Department of Education, and partly in the Department of Education, I'm looking at the safety as well as the learner enrichment program, which is now called sport. So extracurricular activities are within my department or section. Or you can hear me now? Sorry. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks colleagues. So this is the scenario that's given to us as thinkers on the process. There's a group of change makers on Friday the 4th of August that put up their hand and they said, this is the name of our school. Safe Household is the name of the school. Grade R to grade 12. Their vision and mission is to establish a safe space for learners to actualize their full potential. They say this safe space is built on the following pillars: deep collaboration between various stakeholders who have an interest in the space, the safe space and ownership. They recognize that relationships are key in all directions, up, down, sideways, with the different stakeholders in the school. They acknowledge that we need a very caring environment in order for this to happen. The school prides itself in that its curriculum drives a very holistic approach to development, health, mental and physical, academic, as well as extramural. And critical for its success, it has a very asymmetrical form of communication. No one walks around with a title. You could speak to anyone in any direction. Are these change makers fools who think that that's possible, given the present context of our schools? And from your discipline advantage point, what advice would you give them if they would be striving to achieve such a school? Each of the panelists will have 5 minutes to respond, and then you're going to have an opportunity to respond to their response, and then we'll give back to the chairperson. You have a clear idea of our school? Don't give us any other school except the one that was framed in this vision. And now from your discipline advantage, tell us your thoughts immediately. And these are just thoughts as they have emerged. Anyone could choose to respond. And 5 minutes, I'm going to time you with my watch, and after 5 minutes, I'll ask you to start. Cosmo, you'll go first, thanks.
Thank you very much. I think that environment of trust is number one. Being number one, I don't want to experience a parent coming to our school with a hot head. I will normally stop the parent and say, is there something wrong, Mama? Because the child did not report an issue with us at school, but reported an issue to the parent. And the parent, they will come with, it's normally the ladies that will do that. And in terms of addressing that then, that communication, that open communication that you spoke about is the one that will make sure that the child trusts us. Also, what is important is the toning. Please take note of yourselves as well. If I can say, ha, I can say ha with a smile on my face, but knowing that what you are doing is not the right thing. Are you with me? So the toning to us in our school is very, very important in terms of building our learners within our institution and making sure that they are confident. They are not afraid of me. because I am walking around them, I am reachable, they are able to touch me in one way or the other. Another thing that in terms of what has been presented to us, I would say respect. Respect goes a long way, even amongst ourselves, even amongst the school. Because if you don't respect, the Bible says, respect your mother and father so that your number of years may extend it or increase. Therefore, if you disrespect, you are taking the life out of your life. I'll repeat, if you disrespect, you are taking a life out of your life. Therefore, I am then entrenching respect within the learners so that they can respect the educator, respect each other. Therefore, bullying will not take place because we respect each other. And if you are then opening that kind of an avenue where you were saying communication must be in each fold, both to the management or to everyone, that to us, it's an open policy. If there's something negative that has taken place within our institution, I'll make an example quickly. Teacher A child has been naughty to teacher A and not naughty to teacher B. Now, teacher A must be in a position to come to us as collective, whether we are educators or whatever, and saying, there was this incident that happened. Then what I would emphasize and propagate is for teacher B to say, we don't allow, no, you need not to mention names, but there is a saying that says, injure one, injure all. And we must take that stance collectively, both from the parents as well as the learners. Then teacher A has reported that. Teacher B, you know that learner is behaving in your class. You stand up and say, we do not tolerate this behavior. We have heard from your class that A, B, and C has happened in your class. Therefore, and teacher B, teacher C, teacher D, each and everyone will hammer that. Then you are bringing back the dignity within the class. You are bringing back the respect within the class because it has been communicated. What is important in our school as well, in our briefings or debriefings, we encourage you as a school safety coordinator. I'm making an example. One has been mentioned here that there are kids that have got knives, but also one of the students mentioned that, hey man, we don't want to be searched here in our school. Whereas if there is an element where we are saying we have spotted something, therefore we need to make sure that each and everyone within the institution is safe. Therefore, that search and seizure is very important so that we don't have learners that do not feel safe in our environment. Lastly, 3 seconds for lastly. Lastly, if I can say this, look at grade 12s. Why there is no bullying in grade 12? Is because there is always a teacher in the class. Therefore, if there is a teacher in a class or no one must leave a class unattended, our school will be an environment where life flows, where goodness comes, where each and everyone enjoys the company of each and everyone. Therefore, supervision in all our aspects must be there. Thank you.
For me, schools are designed in their nature to be spaces of development and care. And I think, I'm not old enough to know apartheid, but I do think that our history would show that schools in the nature of apartheid and many other issues have become sites of social death, if I can put it like that. So a space that was meant for development and care has become a social crisis environment. Many issues only come up in the school environment. So something has happened in our country's experience of a place that was supposed to be for care and development. It's a crisis center. It's a crisis center for generational pain of those that are underpaid, feeling exploited. It's a space where I can go if I don't have food and rob the school banks. It's a space where dysfunction can take place. And I think our young gentleman there actually termed it so beautifully. He said, so I'm taking your advice to the stage, where he said, schools reflect communities. And something has happened where the school has become the biggest mirror or compounding factor of every community dysfunction. So I think the first space is to understand who's in the school environment as informed by communities. What is the vision that that we have for a community, and how do we use schools as sites of transforming communities? I think that's the best place for me to start, because whenever we think about changing systems, we're constantly thinking it must be this broad policy and this broad thing. But it starts with, what vision do we have as a community? And what action can be taken as a community? And then how do we use schools as sites? You look at what schools already represent. When we want to vote, where do we go? When we want to bury people and we don't have space for churches, where do we go? When we want to have documentation, where does DSD come and set up site? So already there's something happening here that's showing us that schools are actually sites where community transformation can take place. So it means that communities have to be at the forefront of guiding a community vision. If we want to organize a protest, someone has been brutally murdered, where do we meet? Where's our meeting point? It's not police stations, it's schools. So that's, for me, the first way with which we need to start thinking about schools. So those change makers at that school, depending on whether or not they value their community and have a vision for their community, I can believe them, that can take place in a community. Then you ask yourself, then what does it mean? It means that we need to think then as visionaries when we think about schools, as community visionaries. I want to change my community. I want my mother to be able to have a place where she can go to church in a school. I start thinking differently about a school. It means that I want to promote safety between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. because she must make use of that school. It means that the community is thinking about schools from a value base. And I think for me, I know it's not a practical way, but it's a way with which already communities are utilizing schools, and how do we start to envision schools from that place? Thank you.
All the input and wisdom that has been heard on all fronts from the initial discussions and also my colleagues up to now. I think for me, all the points are very valid. But if we were to maybe now move from the space of, the macro community and get inside the school fundamentally is an organization. It doesn't exist in a cloud. It doesn't exist in isolation to the various components that combine and make it what it is. The first thing that we need to establish inside the school is a shared vision. Visions and mission documents are compiled by very clever people. They put them on paper, they look beautiful, they are blown up into posters, they sit on walls. And in the act of them sitting on walls and in beautiful principals' offices, people hope and pray and fast and expect that those visions will come alive. Ne? But it doesn't happen like that, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody that has capabilities of leadership, somebody that is a forthright, visionary, somebody that is energized, because you are working in a youthful environment, you'd require a lot of resilient energy. If you are dealing with young people, vibrant, bright, bushy-tailed, others are coming from holes that are destitute, that have got trauma, that have got destitution, poverty, and all kinds of symptomatic challenges where somebody leaves that home feeling unloved and unworthy and all the rest of the anchors. They come into a space that is huge and magnified. Others are bright, they were cushioned, they come from solid homes, they know what to do. They are the ones that normally put up their hands in class versus the others that feel like I've got the answer but I'm so scared because I don't feel well. All that gives you a very colorful cocktail that requires you to become almost chameleon-like in how you look at the picture of chaos and try to build a formidable picture that everybody inside the organization can relate to. Now, somebody must chart that path forward. Somebody must switch on the light. See light enumlilo. We must, ignite the fire so that we begin to translate the vision from the wall for it to mean something to me as a principal, as a deputy, as a teacher, as that, lady that cleans the grounds and the offices for us, as the, the grade 11 and the grade 9 student, to understand who we are not, what we are about, what we allow, what we don't allow, what are the permissible conduct, principles, values, drivers, and everything that is about us. What is not permissible in this space? What constitutes hostile behavior that is not allowed? And how do we call out that which is toxic to our system? Organizations are ignited by leaders. Leadership influences the culture and the climate, and in turn, the culture and the climate influences leadership. But somebody needs to start the fire. Now, I am always bothered by the fact that we do not seem to have sufficient capabilities of leading and managing. Leadership is slightly different to management, but management is basically the plan, organize, lead, control. And then the top-up layer of that is leadership, which needs to have an inspired and a forthright horizon. What is the audacious horizon that we are all charting and walking towards? What are we going to do about these children when they go out and become citizens? What are we going to do about them when they are pulling their hair, they don't even know who they are trying to fit in because of peer pressure and bullyism, they try to fit into cliques and they don't even know who they are. They get to 18, we expect them to make decisions about careers, they don't even know who they are. Ne? They go and study accounting. Accounting is maybe something in my cognitive capacity I'm able to absorb. I go and I chart that path. I become a CA. I go into a Deloitte and whatever. But 7 years down the line, I realize that I detest numbers. I don't even like to sit and look at financials. And it turns out that I'm not even supposed to be in a numbers game. I'm supposed to write, or I'm supposed to do drama, or I'm supposed to do other things that make up who I am. Where are the capacities in the school for us to get to assist children to find those answers? Where are the capacities in the schools for us to assist teachers to grow layers of resilience and reservoirs of resilient psychosocial capacity to deal with the myriad of challenges that children are finding ourselves in? So we are about building that capacity within those schools and to be led, actively led by capable and formidable and excited and committed leaders, and also understand also that learners are stakeholders in their own right. We mustn't be having a top-down approach. We must dialogue with them. We must have critical conversations with them. Thank you.
Wonderful. I was too scared to stop the psychologist in case she diagnosed me with some problem, and that's why I gave her extra seconds. But now, the multi-stakeholders of You see, I even forgot the name of our school. You came up with this fantastic vision and ideas. Now these experts have said the following. That's all nice. But if you don't take care of how we speak to one another, you're going to struggle to be effective. All that dreams will be the pie in the sky that the psychologist says that stays on the wall and never migrates from a wall. You have to start the fire to ensure that schools are not social crisis spaces, because they reflect communities, what's happening in our communities. How do you think carefully about ensuring that it becomes not only a space for educational transformation, but for the transformation of the community where you find yourself? Because it's a false dream you're pursuing to think you can have this ideal when everything else is falling apart. These children come from somewhere. These teachers come from somewhere. Are we flogging a dead horse by thinking you can just say, why aren't you learning? There are human beings in the space. Teachers, can you understand that children learn from temple boys? That's my term of reference. Losada, Mike. And I can am a piano now. And when I come in and I walk in, I say, hey, you know when I was young, and Luther Vandross used to sit quietly, and they look at me as if I'm a dinosaur. And I expect to learn. I expect these students to learn the way I've learned. Have I not lost my teaching tools? Am I not sharpening up? Am I not learning with the way the children are learning? Do I think I have to mold them to a 1976 soap opera instead of becoming hip with them and moving with the time? And when we speak of tone and respect, what is my tone and respect with the learners? Do I see a human being in front of me, or do I see someone less than me? Same with me as an NGO. When I walk in, do I think I have all the knowledge and I'm here to show you how to do it? Or am I here to learn with you and we complement one another and we don't compete? What are we here for? Do we know who's actually in the space? You walk into the classroom every day, you're principal, and you look over 1,200 children. Who do you see? You see one child, or do you see 1,400 children? How do you manage that tension in the space? And then key for you, as we all become excited and we go back, how do we develop the agency, the spark plug to start? Because we are here, why not us? That's what Masifunde is asking us. Why not us? Why not us in this generation? But mindful of our vision and where we are. Now you have a few minutes to tell us, you can interrogate, and remember, we are now open for critical critique. It's a terrible, I'm afraid there's a doctor from my university, please, I withdraw that statement. Can't be critical critique, it must best be critique. What you heard, share. You are allowed an opportunity now to interact with what is hanging there in the air now. We had this vision. Experts came in as they normally do and punched us in our gut to say that you think about this. And now bring your voices in as these critical stakeholders that are passionate in our generation to make a difference. Not in previous generations. Sometimes we're trying to fix the future and we're failing in the present. Let's work in our generation so that we leave solid foundations for the future. And then my preaching ends. I had to get my 5 minutes as well. The floor is open now for engagement and disagreement and agreement. And the Amandla will tell us when it's ready. There's the first hand there. And remember, I'll cut you short because we have a time constraint so that we get as many voices. So it will be one voice per table at least if you want to speak. And if a table doesn't speak, you can surrender your voice to another table. So there's 8 voices that we'll hear. The future president of this country speaking.
Morning, everyone.
No, hang on. No.
My name is Abongile Ncube from Chilulwazi High School. So, unfortunately, I have a disagreement.
Yeah, lovely.
So,
Could I just say that? Don't say unfortunately. Stand on your voice. Say, I disagree.
I disagree.
Lovely.
So, I have a disagreement towards the trust part. Sometimes it's too hard to communicate with the teachers because they somehow be too busy to listen to our stories. And some teachers come to not believe us what we say. I mean, like, some schools, they be like, no man, so man. You see? That's why some kids run and tell their parents so that maybe the teachers will know how to communicate with the child when there is a parent. And then, as change makers, we are here for that matters. We should start being the voices of the voiceless. At some point, I also disagree with the searching part. Sometimes it becomes to be our educators who tell the learners that tomorrow there'll be people who will be here, man, to search you guys. It should stay between them and the people who will be coming to search us. Not them making a mistake and telling that, no man, tomorrow, kuzafika abantu bo search and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning again. I have an agreement and a disagreement, right? First of all, I would like to quote something. A Chinese proverb says, a man who would like to move a mountain starts by carrying little stones, right? By those stones, I mean us as children, right? Because us as children in our schools live with that fear that, no, we can't talk to the teacher because the teacher is older than us. They might think something different to our perspectives, right? And in a way that I know Utnik High, right, is a really good school, but sometimes I disagree with the other teachers, right? Because my teachers that teach me have that agreement that, okay, you have to be good instead of being the best, right? Like my principal used to say, if you didn't put in like the most effort you tried, right, you didn't pass, for example, right? Like if you tried your best, you passed. If you didn't try your best, you didn't pass, right? So every teacher like expects us to pass with flying colors while they don't know the background of where the children live in, how they doing, do they eat, do they sleep well, you know? And in that way, I know that our schools can be better in a way, right? So the disagreement I have, for example, is the one she mentioned, searching, right? Because in our schools, I know that most of the children are being bullied, they using drugs and alcohol, you know, and they carry weapons to school. Since others carry weapons to protect themselves, because there are children that walk to schools, and in the community, it's really dangerous. For example, my community, I've been robbed many times, but I'm still standing here on my own, you know? And I would like to thank all of the teachers that have been supporting us through everything that's been happening to the schools and to the communities, because not a lot of children have that privilege to be in schools, you know, because a lot of children are just sitting at home doing nothing, or maybe they are outside doing drugs, alcohol and everything. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Lifa.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the panel. Just something as well that I've observed, especially in such conversations, there's always a blame game that always happens, where the teachers will blame the parents will blame the teachers will blame the community, the government will blame the community will blame the government, and then we'll come here next week again, the government will blame the community will blame the teachers. And I can see the tone even now from the department, the parents, the learners. I can hear the tone from the learners, the teachers, the parents. Maybe we need to create a space where everyone takes accountability, where we say, as teachers, we are guilty of this. We take ownership of this, and we acknowledge this. As a community, we take ownership of this, so that we can move in the same direction instead of coming and say, but you do this, but you do this. As well as just, and also a question for the department. You said that there are no bullies in grade 12 because there's a teacher present with class. The question is, why can't we put the same effort on grade 8, 9, 10, like we emphasize on grade 12? Is it not too late then on grade 12 where we give these kids attention, you know? Can we give them the same attention when they get into high school, so that when they get into grade 12, at least there's a smooth transition? So yeah, that's my question.
Thanks so much. And that's a rhetorical question. We don't expect an answer. It's a statement more than an answer. So yeah, first here, brother, keep first here, and then we'll go there, and then there's another, and then it's just that table still if they want to say something.
Hi everyone. From my side, I know it's not really a question, but starting from the grade 12, also from my school, I think there's always attention for the grade 12s, because obviously they want a certain percentage pass rate or whatsoever. But from my school, it started from grade 11, where everyone starts to fail. You start to fail until you pass for grade 12, because they want that certain percentage. They start advising you guys to focus. For me, I think in high school, they only knew my surname when I was in late grade 11 to grade 12, because they knew my potential then. When I was in grade 8, they didn't care until I got to grade 11. So because they knew I had the potential to pass, that's why they knew my surname then. Hence, Osisi said that that's why kids get confused. They don't get career advice at a very young age. From grade 8 and grade 9, that's when you should know which subject to choose. But they just give you a paper, you go home, and then you just take whatever you feel like you want. You want to be a doctor? Because I knew I chose physical sciences. But when I was in grade 10, I had to change again and do history in grade 11, because that was not for me. But we were never given the opportunity or advice, you see. Moving on to the trust. Okay, moving on to the trust. I think kids don't trust the teachers, because the teachers are always at school with a certain mentality that I'm here to teach. I got the degree, I'm going to get paid on the 20th. And I think that's always the problem with the kids. That's why they run to the parents. If they put the values or the goals they put on the walls into practical, and teachers get enough training or team buildings to work on their traumas as well, so that the kids can trust them as well, I think it would work for the learners as well. Because if you work on your traumas, you are able to help the other person as well, especially the children, because they need that. Thank you.
Can I ask the next speakers to keep it very short, because Amandla's threatened me already there behind.
Good day again, everyone. While I was listening to everyone's opinion, and like something that my accounting teacher said 2 days ago, she said that she doesn't believe in the saying that where there's a will, there's a way.
She says that where there's a will, you have to make the way. Because we cannot blame circumstances, because I can't change that my dad's poor. I can't change that. And I can't change that I grew up in Konabuhle or I grew up where I went to Idnik. I cannot change that. But I can change who I want to become. Because if I sit here and say, no, I'm from the Nyekes family, I'm not from McDonald's, I'm not going to be this, how is that going to help? You need to stand up and do something. Go and fetch a success. It won't come to you. So I think that we should stop blaming circumstances. We should just get up and go and fetch a success. It's not going to come. It's not going to fall from the sky. You have to work for it. And sometimes we go to we have the best doctors that come from the poorest schools. Because they expect a cardiologist to come from Riebeek, and then they don't expect a cardiologist from Hudnik High. I'm making an example. So I think that circumstances should just not define you. They should not, we don't forget our roots, but don't let that define who you become. Thank you.
On behalf of saying that, I totally agree with the trust, because with the trust of the teachers and learners with community, because sometimes the perpetrator can come from the community in vandalizing our schools. But if we have trust with the children, they are the ones that know what's going on outside, who steal the assets of the school. So I also disagree with the searching, because with the searching, as for us as change makers, we know that who are these people who are selling this thing at school. But if we say to the teachers who are there, I say that our way to school is the only way where they live. So they can easily tell the elder brothers, oh, that one is the one that stopped you drug dealers. He's the one that speaks out to the police. And then what about our lives? Our lives are a danger. So I say that teachers should think in a better way on how to inform the searching part of this. So I say that it's very important that as community and teachers, we engage 50-50 in helping our school, because as a parent, you can't expect a teacher to do all the things for your child. It is also your responsibility in making the safety for your child, and also taking the responsibility in helping the school, because teachers are not always at school 24/7, but you as a parent, you know everything around the school. You are there 24/7, but it's also your responsibility to check if the school is still okay, because perpetrators are from inside the school, outside the school. So from my side, I would love to say that it's important as community and school children and teachers, we engage with the trust, because if we don't have trust, that means that everything is going to be destroyed. What about the siblings that I want to study in our school? If we allow these people to break into our schools, then that means there's no future for our siblings. So it's important that we build a strong relationship with the community and learners. Thank you very much.
We must have faith in our future. We heard the youth today. We heard the power of these voices of optimism. They need to be given space. Old toppies like myself must be able to mentor through, not necessarily want to lead. And they're giving us some indicators already. In spite of what we think is chaos, there are some things we could be working on that's tangible. When we think, ready for, I almost gave the wrong organization. Now my colleagues would have killed me now. The sport organization. We're speaking about trust. There seems to be a level of trust lost. We can do what we want to. Everyone, our Vice Chancellor says, we need to sit down and we need to speak from an equalizing space. Stop talking from our purchase and power. Listen to the valuable information. It's about human dignity. We are human beings. But we have to be mindful of our historical and contemporary challenges, my dear. I disagree with you slightly. I agree with your agency, but I disagree that if we deny where we come from. See, Warmer, Helenville, KwaNobuhle is an architecture that needs to be dismantled. Our parents are a result of a brutal architecture. But I agree with you that we cannot allow these present challenges to keep us hostage. But we must be mindful that it requires more in order to achieve, so we don't live in a fool's paradise as well. All of us have to work together in that way. and that those mountains can be moved through stones, by moving small stones at a time. But if we all competing to move the same stone, we're wasting resources and energy. How do we come alongside one another and value each stone in order to move and reach the vision? It requires accountability on our side. And it requires a lot of what was confirmed, and even the last speaker, agency. Let's give the space for people to grow. Give us a chance. That's what I hear the young people saying here today. We don't have opportunities like this, and that's why I salute you, masifunde, for people just to sit and talk. No assessment waiting for you or KPA outside. The only thing that's waiting for you outside is lunch and coffee, and your ability to think critically about these issues that you confront daily and just to breathe about them. So we salute the opportunity, and we look then forward now to the next session under your leadership, Amandla. Thank you so much, colleagues.
Thank you very much to Dr. Bruce Damons and the panel. I think 2 of the 4 have left, but can we give them another round of applause, please? You know, all of these issues that we've identified are conditions. And for me, condition and context are 2 different things. And I think one of the things that we want to do is be able to create best practices that suit the conditions that one is in through the application of the right context. And one of the things that we want to do in this particular segment is just to be able to share success stories and best practices that in our various corners we've all been doing, and also just for us to open up the space where people can share, you know, what have you been doing? Because we've been having these conversations. Yes, naturally some of them have, you know, been competing views or particular interests, but we just want to open up a space where we share, you know, what some of the things that we've done as a collective. And I think I'll give this opportunity just for us to be able to watch a video of how the Masifunde Changemaker Network has had a few success stories over time, and just what they've been doing in order to create best practices to champion some of these challenges and issues. All right, thank you. Can we get the clip ready, please?
Why not now? Why not you? Why not now? Why not you? Why not now?
All right, thank you very much for that. In the words of the ever flamboyant Mr. Cosmo Baartman, why not you? You know, why not now? I think what we want to do in this particular session is give us a chance to be able to speak. I know for a fact that we've been speaking on various topics and ideals, but we have not been sharing what we in our own capacity and organizations are doing. You know, I like what one of the panelists said when, you know, they kind of drew us back and brought it closer to the topic at hand, which is safer schools and bullying. And they said schools are community sites where transformation is achieved, and I think that is very powerful. And just to draw it back to the topic of safer schools and bullying, let's try and just engage. There is a mic runner at the back, and we just all in our various institutions and organizations just need to share, you know, not necessarily solutions, but just best practices as in terms of what we've been doing to create these spaces. Are we actually becoming more effective in ensuring that we reach the areas of transformation? And, you know, what are we kind of doing just to ensure that at the end of the day, we champion all of these particular issues? So I'm just going to open up that opportunity now for us just to be able to engage, share. And I think at the end of the day, I love what you said, Dr. Bruce, when you said, you know, this is not a space for competition, but one of collaboration, and where we can all just be able to take stock of what the other person is doing, be able to put that in our little kitty, and, you know, be able to run with it. So I'm just going to open up this opportunity, colleagues, for us in your various institutions or organizations, for us just to be able to share. All right. I see a hand over there. Can you please assist in giving the mic there?
Hi, everybody. My name is Leela. I work in the UTech area as a community developer. One of the schools that have really stood out for me was UTech High, which I'm representing today. About 6 years ago, the school found that there was a lot of psychosocial issues that was being brought to the school by the children. And what they did was Mr. Williams and the SGB chair went into the community and looked for stakeholders to actually try and assist them with the issues that they were having at the school. And that's how I got involved with them. I work for different organizations, one of which is a drug abuse organization that helps kids, rehabilitate from drug or alcohol issues. And we sat down and we asked ourselves, as stakeholders in that community, surrounding the school and living in the community, how can we assist the school with the issues that they were having inside of the school? And we formulated a plan and a program which we then called a progressive detention program, where we took learners and instead of chastising them for making a mistake, taught them coping skills as to how to deal with those issues. From that program, we've seen a success rate of 60% of those learners actually fully rehabilitating from issues of gender-based violence and drug abuse. Another school in the Nelson Mandela area recently showed a remarkable improvement in their grade 12 results by getting a pass rate of 100%. 6 years ago, the same school only had an 18% pass rate on their grade 12 learners. And what they actually did was they took, I think somebody mentioned that, not only to focus on the grade 12 learner, but they went backwards and they said, let us start focusing from grade 8. Let us have extra classes for the subjects that we see our learners are having difficulties in. So what they do in that school, they actually have extra classes every single day from grade 8 till grade 12. And that means that the community, which are the parents that are involved in the school, as well as the teachers, took hands together and started doing extra classes for learners with the subjects that they were having, that they were seeing that the children were having difficulty in. And what actually resulted from that was a 100% pass rate at grade 12, which I think is, in a 6-year period, is a fantastic move for a school to make. But it means commitment. It also means that we have to reevaluate our morals, our values, and our principles. We have to see, like you said, respect being one of them, commitment and involvement from everybody involved in that situation and around the school, and looking for stakeholders that are in that particular community, because they are the ones that know about the social issues. They know what's happening at the home, and they know how to ignite the fire and to exact that change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Mbulelo Konana. I'm from an organization called GIZ Social Inclusion. Ucebisa in English can literally mean to advise. It's an organization that was established in 2018 by few social workers who went into various schools just after finishing their studies in MU, and they went to various schools here in Nelson Mandela Bay to see the nature of what is happening in terms of social ills in schools. And they noticed that in all sort of social ills like substance abuse, disability, and sort of issues of bullying in schools, they noticed that the LGBTI kids in schools are the most exposed in violence in schools, and primarily most cases teachers are much more involved in creating a space for learners to be in toxic, especially the LGBTI kids who are discriminated because of maybe how they appear and how they present themselves, because of a sense of, if a guy, a young learner is more maybe feminine, find some challenges in situations. So they thought about how can they use their skills in order to transfer skills and knowledge to combat all forms of violence in schools. So it was an interesting thing that it was the first thing they diagnosed is that they needed to be able to engage, first of all, with these stakeholders like social development and, Department of Education to do a sensitization, first of all, with these stakeholders and also the police service, in communities. So they check in 10 schools here in Nelson Mandela Bay. So what I'm trying to say is that even before they went straight to learners and do this, this workshop, they started with e-teachers because of they realized that e-teachers are primarily at the center of causing a sense of harm in learners unconsciously, because it's not even their aim also. And then after that, we invited parents, and with the parents we also did sensitizations. In starting have to understand the issues of gender diversity and sexual orientations. And then we went to learners. In learners, what we did was a peer-to-peer education, just to make it upon that at least these learners, they take this thing into their own hands, so that and teach each other on issues of anti-bullyism in schools. So I think that's what our organization is at the center. So time to time, Gemos, you have to move with what is happening and understand what is trending, what is the situation at the moment. So last year, because of last year, it was 2020, there was a report by the department, by the South African Police Service, I think in 2021, that in KwaZakele, which is where our offices are at, KwaZakele Police Station, when it comes to issues of gender-based violence, is number 10 on a national level, and it's a hot spot. So we thought about, okay, if this is the case, how much more in schools? Because generally schools represent what the community is. So we went on to to think about it. I think it's important to raise an awareness in a sense of an affirmative action, and we begin to think about, let's do an event called a Pride. A Pride, what is a form of an affirmative action, and also which form seeks to show a sense of education in communities. So we invited also stakeholders, Department of Basic Education, Department of Social Development. So what is our aim at the center was at least to give a sense of an education in communities. The result, if I may put it like that, we also, as an organization, we've got our own challenges in terms of having to read a sense of a data, information, and understanding maybe where we are. But I could say in the schools that we've been able to be involved with, the cases of anti-bullyism are not as apparent as they used to. So I think that's just a glimpse of the work that we've been doing in Nelson Mandela Bay.
A lot has been said, so mine would be, I guess, kind of revisiting some of the things that we've spoken to. But I just wanted to offer into the space some acknowledgements. In South Africa, violence is a language. It's a language of communicating, asserting self. It's a language of even significance. So some of us are more prone to be violent than not. And I don't want us to leave here thinking that there's an othering when we talk about bullying and all of these things. There's an intrinsic capacity in every single one of us to be violent. And that allows us to extend grace to one another. It allows us to be accountable as community members. And the second acknowledgement, and it might sound clinical, but violence was planned into our communities. You can look at spatial planning. Where a street light is can actually condition whether a rape happens in a community or not. So also, not to take away responsibility, even at a spatial level, there are spatial scientists in this country still trying to redesign our streets, our communities, to not make us prone to violent behavior. We're dealing with a beast, and it starts really with self-acknowledgement about my own potential, and it starts about innovating from that place. And so there should never be a day where we feel like this is the right solution, but there should always be an accountability to say, am I still doing something? And that is the place of all innovation. And I think just one last, to end on a biblical note, Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Just to share my personal story, I was at Masifunde. Some of you met me here. And because of being given more opportunity and more opportunity, I'm finding myself in a space now where I work for the German Development Corporation. And I'm sharing this as an honest story. That had it not been walking through Masifunde, being shown you can be a facilitator first, and you can be a program coordinator, that I could then reimagine myself. That there are opportunities that will come from our sincere passion to change, our innovation, and the path is created for us by what we pursue for our communities. And what I want to close off on a biblical note is, but Cosmo and I are very big Christians. There's a wonderful verse in Genesis 1:28. Be fruitful, multiply,
replenish the earth and subdue it.
And subdue it.
Fantastic. So, in conclusion, since you are biblical, you know, pastors have 5 conclusions. The first conclusion, I go back to a famous philosopher from the northern areas when I was a school principal. And he had deep philosophy in a very simple phrase, "Tala what you must." And this is what I'm hearing. We are all busy with the dollar, but we're encouraging that we must bring that dollar closer together so that we start moving that mountain stone by stone. The second one is that we must move government cosmos out of the mindset of the gang mentality. The gang mentality seeks a number, 26, 27, 28. And I learned recently 25 is a France. Sit on the stair, you sit on the fence. You see, it's the same number that we chase in matric. The percentage. What is that different from the gangster chasing a number? How do we change that culture? You see, it's an institutional culture to ensure success of all our learners. And I think it starts with programs like this, the conversation. This is work. You're thinking carefully, you're thinking critically, you're hearing about successes, we're celebrating life stories through success, Masifunde. Well done. That a voice could articulate success of your program. And so we'd like to encourage you, even as the university, we want to partner and walk next to you and learn with you. You have a fantastic Bantu program, but I'm sure if we chat with Masifunde, we can understand how to collaborate so that we recognize there's knowledge out there. You don't have to have grade 12 or have a degree to make a meaningful contribution. But as a university, how do we support the recognition of multiple knowledges in ways that can help people prepare to do this work? So we commit as Nelson Mandela through Human Movement Sciences to do exactly that, Doc. So this is the last exercise that we're going to have now. At your table, and you're only going to have 3 minutes. If you can't do it after 3 minutes, you're going to lose your opportunity as a table. It's a speed discussion. What did you like about today? And you must get consensus in 3 minutes. And only one person will get up about this session. Or you could say, the table could agree, no man, this was horrible. You can be critical about the session as well. Okay? That's the first exercise, and then we'll close off with another exercise, and then we'll hand back to the facilitators. So 3 minutes starting now. What did you truly enjoy about today's session?
We love that it was interactive, that everybody was talking, not just one guy preaching. We love that the young children were here, and we love just hearing from all different organizations, not just schools.
Not to repeat what the first table has said, good afternoon, morning, everyone. We like the fact that we are being challenged, you know. What have we done? What more can we still do? So now we are energized.
But just to add on to it, what we really loved, what appreciated was what the input from the young people, from the scholars. And Umem behind me was saying that if they can spread that gospel going forward, man, our country is going places.
and also the fact that everyone here has one passion, which is making change. Thank you.
So the strong takeaway quickly, it was an intergenerational dialogue. Yeah, we did our thing across generations. The voices were important that we spoke, but we also heard. The agency of the endpoint recipient was the strongest, and we celebrate that today. We don't feel it as a threat, okay? And that this needs to be encouraged, where people can just sometimes sit and critically think without having a plan of action or a school improvement plan as an end result. Now for your lunch.
Can you give another round of applause to Dr. Damons? Almost ran away there where he's talking about 27s, 26s. Can we build a safer hall? But anyway, before you guys get tired of me, we've all heard of Masifunde Changemaker Network, but I'd just like to share some other social enterprises that we have at Masifunde, and we'll be playing a slideshow now that will be able to display just some of our offerings. First and foremost, I'd like to start off with our first social enterprise, which is called Masi Consult, or MCON for short. And as you guys know, with our own consultancy and training provider, we like to share our know-how with all our particular stakeholders and partners. So we'd like to encourage you guys in your various spaces, whether or not you're NPOs or the like, to be able to utilize these services, because we provide a various number of training opportunities. So whether you want to be capacity built in your particular NPO or organization, or whether you just like us to step in and try and various ways possible. We also offer our facilities to do such trainings, and of course at the end of the day be able to service you through those particular vouchers with our wonderful lunches at My Maito. And that is MCON. Our second social enterprise is none other than Masisebenze, with a varied number of enterprises. The first one is the Changemaker Academy, and of course with that you're also able to utilize these particular facilities. And the Changemaker Academy targets a number of youth that can be able to be part of that. Secondly, we have a skaftin that you can be able to book if you want to have coffee, muffins, pies and the like. This can be parked at your next event, so don't be shy to hit us up and call us up. Or if you're just passing, if you just happen to randomly pass by 12th 8th Avenue Warmer and you need a coffee or you need a pie, you need a muffin, then please, who twice to service you. Next up is My Maito, who is providing our wonderful welcoming drinks and eats as well as the lunch this afternoon. So My Maito is part of the social enterprises that we have. It is a restaurant that we have at the bottom. It services a number of catering opportunities for any type of event that you may have. And last but not least, we have the guest house, which is called V59 at 59 Villiers Road here in Warmer. So for any conferencing needs that you may have, accommodation needs that you may have, feel free to utilize our guest house that has 9 rooms and, like I said, offers conferencing and entertainment areas. And also, just for you guys, it'll also be able to enable, we also have trainees here where we also assist them and bring in good business for us. And I think just briefly, you may want to visit us if perhaps these were a bit much for you to digest at this point heading towards lunch. So please feel free to go to www.masisebenze.org. I think my mic is tired of me, so I'll call on Siwe to do our vote of thanks. Thank you.
I would like to thank our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much for your expertise and the knowledge and contributions that you've shared. I'd like to call upon Dr. Damon. Thank you, sir. Sis Babalwa. Mr. Cosmo. And Noxolo. So on our tables, there are Spark magazines, which are magazines that the learners contribute content towards, and also we have our panelist, Mr. Cosmo and Sis Babalwa, who are experts on them, so they shed light and information about school violence, and also the information, or rather the knowledge that we capacitate the change makers on, so that they go back to their schools with the peer-to-peer approach and share their learnings with their peers. So do grab a copy of each of the editions of the Spark magazine. Thank you so much. So our next luncheon will be on the 4th of October. 6th of October. It will be around the mental health awareness week. The topic will be mental awareness. So we're focusing on health, so mental health awareness. So if you are able to come, please do join us once again, but I'll send emails. So it was also nice to see the faces to the names, because I'm the one who's been sending the emails, doing the calls. So I'm like, oh, okay, I see now. So it was very nice to see the faces. Thank you so much. For me, I didn't get a chance to, the last round of contributions and learnings, but for me, it's small. Collaboration is key, and hopefully we will do that going forward. Thank you so much.